Alright, at long last, this is my review of my Vox MV50 Clean. This amp is awesome. It's really tiny. I mean, you just take a look. I mean, this is comparing to just basic pedal. Really small amp, but packed with a lot of volume. This thing is nuts. It's a 50 watt amp with a new tube technology. I believe that is exclusive to Vox. 50 watts worth of tube power in just this small little box. Now it is, I believe, just a preamp, but this thing has a lot of volume to it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the things I like and don't like about it. And there are a few, but overall the sound, this amp takes pedals really well. I mean, anything I drive through it just handles it perfectly. So really simple layout. You have your treble, your bass, and your volume. Now, I love mid-range in a guitar, so, you know, I was a little bit worried about this. But, again, if you set your pedals right and you use the right guitar, I mean, I can definitely get some good mid-range out of this, despite not having a mid knob. There is no reverb, so you do lack a little bit of that spatial quality that reverbs give amps and that little characteristic. The view meter is awesome. It seems to be pretty accurate. I mean, I generally play, because this is so loud, well, these are my normal settings. I pigeon toe these guys, and my volume's maybe not even there. I mean, I'm usually maybe around there. And you can definitely see the meter moving appropriately, and the times I do want to crank it, that meter is jumping off. So the view meter is a really cool touch. Kind of adds like a classic vibe to it as well. So far, that's the front panel. The things I don't like really show here. Right now, this is the output into your cab. At 4 ohms, it runs at full 50. At 8 ohms, it runs at 25, and at 16 ohms, it runs at 12.5. Right now, I'm running everything through, believe it or not, an old Guitar Research 4x8 cab, and which is 4 ohms, and it sounds awesome. But I've ran this through my my PV 5150 412 with Sheffields, and I've ran it through my my ADA split stack that has Carvin GT12s in it, and it works great. I mean, it's definitely going to be loud enough for small gigs for sure. I've used this amp at bar gigs before, and it had tons of volume to spare. So you know, this amp, if people say that you can't gig with it, I mean, yeah, maybe not in an arena, but you can definitely, or a theater, but you can definitely get away with small clubs. Even a theater, an auditorium, I think this amp would be killer. But anyway, so you have that. You have your attenuation. So right now I'm at full, but you can cut it a little bit lower, so you're not working at full volume and full power. So if you want to hear it break up, which it does have a little bit of breakup in it. When you crank it, just bring it down to 1/100th, and crank your volume, and you can start hearing a little bit of breakup without going deaf. If you crank the volume at full, I mean, your house is going to shake. So just be warned of that. The EQ, this part here, that's for depending on what cab you're using. If you're using a small 1x8, you'd want to use the deep switch. That way, it kind of adds a little bit more fullness. If you're using anything but or anything bigger, the flat is where you'd want to keep it. And of course, I'm running 4x8s, and the cabinets I mentioned before, so I'm really fine with it being on flat. Okay, the standby. This is odd, right? Well, first off, all the switches are really small, and they're just plastic, kind of cheap. I'm afraid that if I'm reaching back there to get one of these switches, I might break it. Yeah, it does feel really fragile. The power button is in this odd spot. I would rather it be somewhere, like maybe switch spots with this, so you can get to it a little bit easier. It's a little bit more accessible, especially when you're feeling around for it. All right. The eco here, this is if this is on, that means it'll power off after if you leave it on for X amount of time without using it. It'll turn itself off. If you leave it on off, then it'll stay on the whole time. It's kind of, sorry, I probably didn't explain that great. Next thing, the phone's line. I've used this and outputted it directly into the return on my tube amps, and it works really well. It doesn't sound quite the same. It has a little bit of there's a little bit of an EQ change in it, but I mean, you can do that. You can also headphone it or put this directly into a line in for recording. I'm not sure about going direct into a board. That I haven't tried yet. Yeah, but direct into a return of a tube amp where you're just using the power tubes, and then you're controlling it with the controlling your volume and stuff like that with this preamp. It works well, but still it needs some experimenting. One of the other things that really bothers me about this is this angled power thing, right? If it's over on this side, right, and sometimes you're setting it up, you're not thinking about it. It covers where that power switch is, which is why I think it's such an awkward place. I'd rather have the power in front, to be honest with you, but it's in the way. All right, so and then if you're trying to fish around for it, you're inadvertently bending this back and forth and stuff, which isn't good for the connection. So to make sure this is swung over on this side, right? That way we have access to that already crammed power button. But otherwise, besides that, and just the layout of the switches back here, and lack of reverb, which I understand. I mean, it's a small footprint. You're not gonna cry about not having reverb when you get something like this. Those are the only two complaints I really have. This amp is solid for sure. I mean, I was really skeptical at first, but I really wanted a smaller amp just so I'm not carrying around my 100-watt heads all the time, or my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, which is very portable, but it's heavy, right? So having this, I mean, I literally fit this in my gig bag, and not even the front pocket, but the headstock pocket, that's up the neck of the case or the bag. I fit that in there along with the power supply. Good to go. All right, so we get to some audio samples.